No, but it was funny. Well, we were going to make me wonder. No, that's right. Oh, dear.
Yeah, really.
You're the player? Sounds the player?
Oops, wrong head. We had that conversation.
Thank you.
All rise and salute the flag, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any additions, corrections, deletions to the agenda?
Yes, I'd like to bring something up for discussion tonight. Snowplows.
What was it?
Snowplows.
Snowplows?
Who do you want it on the agenda?
We can do it first.
Well, let's do it number 3.
Okay, number 3. I didn't know. You do?
I have one item, which was a letter that all the council received from the members of the Recreation Commission. Dear sirs, the members of the City of Fulton Recreation Commission hereby request a joint meeting with the Mayor and Common Council. We ask that the meeting take place on January 19th at 7:30 p.m. in the Mayor's Conference Room. The purpose of the joint meeting is to discuss our concerns related to the management agreement, North Bay Campgrounds, and the proposed boat races sponsored by the Lions Club. Please advise accordingly. Once notification is received from your office, we will notify the media of this joint event. As all of you know, The items on this letter, the management agreement and the community center, is the source of litigation from the two aldermen. The North Bay campgrounds are in the town of Granby, so really the only issue to discuss is the boat races. So I don't know if the January 19th is a good time or not.
Well, Alderman Allen and I have previous commitment. We have a meeting scheduled in the mayor's conference room at 7 o'clock. It's a safety committee meeting, union contract. So it's not a good time for us.
Mayor, the common council, when is a good time?
I think the council will decide that.
Would you decide it in a month, or 2 months, or 3 months? Let me put it in perspective. On November 28th, we asked for the council to meet with us. On December 7th, we asked for the council to meet with us. And we're asking again today.
Well, 2 of the 3 items can't be discussed. So you've got one item, which is the boat races, which is being sponsored by the Lions Club.
Why can't North Bay be discussed?
What jurisdiction do you have over North Bay?
Is it under the Recreation Department?
No, it isn't. It's in the town of Granby.
Has it ever been under the Recreation Department?
Yes, it is.
And when did it go from the Recreation Department?
When it was reopened last year.
And it never come back into the recreation budget?
There's a budget for North Bay specifically. It doesn't say the Recreation Department.
Well, we would really like to have a meeting with you to discuss recreation in general also.
That's fine.
And we would like to have it soon.
That's fine. You have councilmen that have met with you regularly, have you not? Throughout the year?
Would you name the councilmen who are appointed to be on the
Alderman
recreation?
Teramigi, Alderman Weston, and Mrs. Trowbridge.
Mr. Tromigi has been at most of our meetings. The last two have not been at most of our meetings.
And we explained that there was a conflict and the meeting was supposed to be changed to the first Monday of the month. What?
Nevertheless, I think we'd like to have it in the date that we can meet with you.
Next council meeting?
Sure.
Next council meeting.
February 7th.
Thank you.
I'll just ask for my own clarification. What does the town of Granby and North Bay, how does that,
Well,
what are you saying with that?
There seems to be an issue over the Recreation Commission jurisdiction, and the law clearly says within the city of Fulton.
Excuse me, Mayor, is your microphone work? Because I can't hear anything you say, Would you speak into it, please, sir?
You hear it now? Okay.
Would that be your interpretation or is that of the council?
That's my interpretation. And
Okay,
the
so I would ask
interpretation
the
of
attorney, would you please rule on that? Excuse me, would you please rule on that?
I'm not ruling, I don't know what the question is, and I'm not ruling on something that I'm not prepared to rule on. I don't have the code book in front of me.
I'll present the question to you and then later date you can rule on that.
Yes.
Thank you.
So February 7th then?
Mm-hmm.
Fine. Okay. Call the roll.
Mayor Bullard,
Here.
Alderman Lincoln,
Here.
Alderman Teramigi,
Here.
Alderman Weston,
Here.
Alderman Cavallaro,
Here.
Alderman Trowbridge,
Here.
Alderman Allen.
Here.
All present, Your Honor.
First item.
Resolved that the minutes of the Common Council meeting held on December 27, 1994 and January 3, 1995 are hereby approved.
Do you want to move that?
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Notation, the city clerk has advised this council at this meeting of January 17th, the proper letter of disclosure pursuant to Section 803 of General Municipal Law has been filed with him by the following employees. Said disclosure are entered in the minutes of this record. Common Council meeting of January 17th is a matter of record. Wayne Newton Fire Department, Newton Fire Extinguisher Sales and Service, Richard Rebior Police Department, Valley Locksmith.
Item 3 would be the snowplow that we just put on the agenda. Mr. Graham, could you come forward?
Joe's got one. Here it comes. That's one, no.
Everyone's got a copy. We got a proposal there to try to lease the snow plows. I'll give you we have 8 plows right now. We use 6. We use 2 as backups. Right now we have 2 of them are 29 years old, 2 of them are 23 years old. They all take the same running gear. There's no parts available for them anymore. So we've got to make a decision. We still got 8 weeks of winter left. Are we going to buy a plow, or are we going to just try to piecemeal what we've got?
What would happen if one of them broke down?
If one breaks, it's all right. But right now, normally what happens, Tim was out last week in our last snowstorm. We had 2 of them go down within 5 minutes apart, so we put the 2 backups out. 2 years ago, we had the same situation. We had 3 plows go down, which was a couple of these older plows, and we had to wait for parts. So you'll be running with like 5 plows.
Didn't you say that you have to buy used parts? Do they make new parts for these?
There's no new parts. You can't even find used parts. It took us 6 months to find a clutch. December. The only reason we found one guy in Wisconsin rebuilt them in his garage. The factories went out of business.
So if we replace one of those trucks, couldn't we like cannibalize one of the older ones for?
Keep the other 3 going. Because anything major goes, they've already told us there's nothing available.
What's the situation with plows right now?
We've got them all running right now.
No, but I mean, in terms of,
There's one plow they have up there now without the plows on. It would take them a week to put them on. And that's the only one around we've checked. There's nothing else available anywhere. And if you was to go and order another one, it's going to take 150 days minimum to get it.
how long does it take you to plow the city normally on a normal snowfall?
4 hours. Once to go work, 4 to 5 hours, depending on visibility, amount of snow you're pushing.
So if you lost, would it be safe to assume if it took 4 hours with, how many plows do you run? 6. So then it would be safe to assume that if one broke, it would take you 5.5 hours.
Right, it could hurt.
And how many times in the last storm we had did you plow the city?
I didn't hear you.
How many times in the last storm did you plow the city?
4 times.
4.
In the last, was a 14-hour storm we had. Went around 4 times.
So you could add an hour and a half minimum to each one of those, which would be a 6-hour delay.
Right, it
in
would
opening
be one
streets.
time through. I just want the council to be aware that if they do go down, that's the reason it's not that kind of availability is not there.
There obviously is a good supply of parts for new plows.
Well, we know it's a problem. What is difficult is where will we pay for this money, or do we put it into capital bonding for the future? And do you believe that we need this immediately?
I believe we do, but it's a gamble. Do you want to take the gamble that's not going to snow again? I mean, you've lived there long enough. Everybody else. You have up to 2 years to make that payment.
Yeah.
If the plow was leased, how we would own it at the end of the period?
Yeah, at the end of the 5-year lease, you'd own it for $1.
6.65% interest.
It's not bad.
What's the council's thoughts on this?
Is this a proposal to be acted upon tonight?
Well, there's a problem with how long the truck is going to be there, the one we're looking at.
The one that's there now, I guess, there's another dealer's called for it, wants to plow, and they just bid a plow in the city of Elmira, and they've come down to look at it today, so.
And this is the
I'll
only,
guarantee that
is this the only company that leases Oshkosh, or are there other companies?
there's other leasing companies, but this is the only Oshkosh that's available.
The only one that's available, or they have to go be manufactured?
Commissioner, what would be the price if you purchased one outright?
What would be the price? The last one we bought 2 years ago was $127,000.
So essentially, this lease would cost us $10,000.
$8,000 to $10,000 more because it's got an automatic transmission. That's the difference.
So essentially, this is costing us $10,000 for a lease. Is it?
No, the difference in the price there is the transmission difference.
This one has an automatic
This is
transmission?
an automatic. The one we bought 2 years ago was 4-speed with 2-speed auxiliary.
Well, what would be the interest rate in a lease? You aren't including that in this figure?
6.65%.
It's on the back page if we were to buy them.
On the bottom.
The price at the top is the price.
It's the price of the truck.
137,000. So it costs us 18,000 at least.
Well, I'm not following you then. If you purchased outright, it's $137,000. If you lease, it's $137,000?
No.
It's 137 plus what is 6.5%.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 5 years, annual payment, 31, you
About
multiply that out,
156,000.
Yeah, 156,000.
That's the point I'm driving. So it's going to cost us $19,000 to lease a vehicle. So why not, would we not want to buy one and save $20,000?
That's your option.
We can do that. What he's saying is if we have breakdown, we're going to have to be prepared, or the residents will be prepared, so.
Well, you would also bond probably for that 137,000, which would be about a similar interest rate.
Similar?
I know what your buying
Might be 5%.
You bond, and then on top of that, you pay high interest on the issuance of a serial bond if it does get bonded for. It's usually very high.
Yeah, when you bond, legal fees on a bond would run about 1%. It's the council's pleasure on this.
I prefer to go to the Public Works Committee, and we can talk with the Chamberlain about some more exact figures.
There's a question.
This urgency, as I see it, existed back in November, so I don't see what another month would take.
Comment on this. You people are sitting there like you're all dumbfounded, like, my God, we got snow to move. Where do you people live at? Last Thursday morning, it quit snowing at 4:45 in the morning. My street was plowed at 10:25 in the morning. 10:25. There's another woman or a person I know that almost lost her job because her boss called her from Syracuse and says, I can't believe the city can be so incompetent that at 11 o'clock in the morning your street's not plowed yet. Apparently we have good sanders though, because on Wednesday night when there wasn't a flake of snow on the ground, a Nida Street from Route 3 to the old YMCA had 3/4 of an inch of rock salt on the road. 3/4, I got out and measured it because I couldn't believe what I seen. The next night, we started getting snow at about 4 o'clock. Excuse me. Bucky's people come down the street at about 6:30, 6:45 at night. The next time they appeared on the street, in that period of time, by the way, we got about 4.5 inches of snow. The next time they appeared on the street was at 10:25 Thursday morning. You got to be kidding me to sit there and even question.
What street do you live on?
Tannery Village.
I was out with those guys that night, and I know they plowed every ward 4 times.
Well, I disagree with you. I disagree with you, because when I got up at 5:30 in the morning, I had about 38 inches of snow in my driveway, and the road had the same amount on it.
What snowstorm are we talking about now?
The one we had on a Thursday, a week or so ago?
Actually, it was on a Wednesday night.
Or maybe it was a Wednesday night, I'm sorry, maybe it was a Wednesday night.
And the plows didn't come.
I mean, I'm not, don't get me wrong now, I'm not condemning Bucky or his people. I'm condemning you people for sitting there and looking so dumbfounded. My God, we gotta buy a snowplow? What's wrong with you people? Take the money from North Bay, take the money that you're gonna redo this beautiful city hall with, and let's buy a damn snowplow and get it over with. This guy's been fighting these snowplows for 10 years now that I know for a fact. What's wrong with you? I mean, we don't have $127,000 in the city that's going to be misspent in some other way. How much are we going to spend on North Bay this year? Nobody knows, huh? How much are we going to spend on the swimming pools this year? Well, nobody knows that.
Well, we certainly do. This is a working meeting. We're talking about our options here.
Yeah, but don't, you're just sitting there like saying, my God, what are we going to do? Let's buy some snowplows. This city's going downhill so fast.
Point of order, Mayor, point of order.
But the next thing is, now, someone's going to comment if we said, okay, let's get it. Let's spend $153,000 without a discussion. Somebody out there is going to say, did you see that? They just spent the money without even thinking about it.
I don't think so. Not when it's people that you keep raising their taxes another 10 or 11% this year, and they can't get out to get to work to pay their taxes.
I don't think the problem you're talking about either has to do with buying a new plow. We had as many plows as we would have out on the road.
Well, maybe they'd run a little bit better. Maybe we need to buy 2 new plows then. I don't know. Well, all I'm saying is, it's a crying shame in the city of Fulton when the streets aren't plowed until 10:30 in the morning. And the ironic part of it is, I took off from work. I go across this bridge at 9 o'clock in the morning. There was a flake of snow one in the parking lot down here by the drugstore. I come around the other side. There's 3 loaders in this parking lot out here. There's 2 loaders down by the drugstore. Who the hell's going to park there because nobody can get out of their street to drive to downtown? Loaders will do the streets too. You don't need just snowplows.
You've made your point.
Okay.
Does he work for the snowplow company?
I don't know, but I do believe we have to do something, and we have to make a decision, and we should do it.
Can you make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we go with the lease.
You, didn't the insurance committee just...
There's some money there in the insurance budget because of the savings. Mr. Tetreault might recall exactly how much that is. Do you recall, Joe?
You mean the savings this
On
year?
the rehabilitation portion.
Pardon me, Joe?
The amount of savings on the rehabilitation portion of the, the liability portion of the insurance.
About approximately $19,000, depending on, about $19,000.
About 19?
Yeah, about $19,000. We
And
figured.
then there will be a savings of 8,000.
That's including,
when we,
I'm figuring using the deductible, worst case scenario, and then figuring $9,000 savings on the snow plows.
that brings it to 19.
So I figure around 19.
So there's a portion there that could be
Right,
utilized.
19 to 20.
Well, that's 28,000 total. That's your lease payment.
Just about.
Oh, just about your lease.
Mm-hmm.
Did you make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we go with the lease, 5-year lease.
I'll second it.
Well, my point was that
I guess the point is we have to keep our streets maintained. That's the big problem. And Mr. Clark wasn't the only person that I heard from after the last snowstorm that we had.
my point was the best way to pay for it. I don't know the immediate urgency. The time to prepare for snow was back in October, not on January 17th.
Well, that's true too, but hindsight's better than foresight. And now we're in a position where we have to make a decision. Unfortunately, we're going to have to make one that might not be the best one of the interests of the city of Fulton, but we're going to have to make some decision so we can keep our streets maintained.
Well, I agree, John, we do need to keep our streets clean, but again, the streets were clean, there was no emergency in regards to vehicles. What I'm looking at here is a lease agreement from one vendor. I would like to see some figures as opposed to other vendors, as opposed to perhaps purchasing outright. I don't know why we're rushing into $137,000 at this spur of the moment. We've laid eyes on this for 3 minutes.
But the point is, the truck is not going to be there.
Well, Tim, what's the time frame on if we don't get it now?
180 days.
6 months.
We had that same time frame, same company with the recycling vehicle, and we don't have a vehicle yet. However,
The vehicle
I don't think that, once again, I don't think the problem with the snow removal had to do with equipment as much as the way this, I talked to Commissioner Graham, and the way the snow fell, at 4 o'clock Thursday morning, the plows were practically at a standstill because visibility, they couldn't see. So I think you have to have a little bit of consideration for the department. We had people working literally around the clock, which isn't a good situation. When you get hit with that much snow all at once, you're asked to put all the available people on the road, all the available equipment. So I don't think in that particular situation, a new plow wouldn't have made any difference. But I agree we need one. We just have to decide whether this is the time to do it and whether this is cost effective and are we using the right mechanism.
Get a motion and a second. Would you please call the roll?
Who made the motion?
Mr. Allen.
I second it.
Mr. Lincoln.
Alderman Lincoln.
Yes.
Alderman Termigi.
This motion is to accept the $137,000 lease agreement. At this time, no. Well, actually, I'll abstain, lack of information.
Alderman Weston.
Based on the need, and I know that we've talked about this before. I think in the past we've made arrangements, for instance, in the police department to periodically replace vehicles. But I think in some of our other departments we've been a little lax. I am concerned that we have to act when we have to act, but sometimes we have to do that. So in the concern of getting this piece of equipment ordered and available to us, I'll vote yes for it.
Alderman Cavallaro.
Yes.
Alderman Trowbridge.
Yes, and I think the ultimate reason I'm voting yes is public safety should be first. And there are people that did call that could not make it to their work. And obviously, it was not because we did have 2 broken trucks down that night, which we would have more people out, which would have made it a little better. But the conditions were horrible last night, and it's not to the fault of the DPW. But people's personal safety should always be taken first, and the city hasn't bought anything. There's no capital improvements plan in 20 years. We have to start going forward, and we do have millions of dollars of capital investment projects to look forward to anyway, so this purchase is timely.
Alderman Allen.
Yes.
Motion's carried.
I would just ask which one are you purchasing?
The 5-year lease.
5 years. I would ask in the future that we would get information a lot more timely fashion. I just cannot vote on an issue with 20 seconds review.
That was why I was brought. It was the only truck left in the United States for this time. Well, then, don't believe the DPW commissioner, but that's the information we were given.
Next item.
If it's the only truck left in the United States, are we going to have problems getting parts for it down the road?
No, it's the only truck available immediately. Otherwise, it would take about 3 to 5 months.
I didn't know if it was a discontinued model or not.
No, it's not discontinued. What did you say?
Resolved that the monthly administration fees for upstate administrative services for 1995 are hereby approved as follows. Medical, dental, $10.80. Dental only, $5.15.
I'll move it.
You want want to second that?
Second.
On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Resolved, City Clerk's report of receipts and disbursements for the month of December 1994 in the amount of $9,082.50 is hereby received, approved, and placed on file.
I'll move it.
Somebody want to second that?
I'll second it.
Mr. Rankin? On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Resolved that City Clerk's report of receipts and disbursements for 1994 in the amount of $77,992.99 is hereby received, approved, and placed on file. I might add that this is the second largest amount taken in since I came here in 1985 for just council information.
I'll move it.
Second?
Second.
On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Resolved that the following claim against the city is hereby referred to the city attorney for his action. Notice of claim submitted by Mary Jane Burnham for injuries alleged to have occurred on June 13th, 1994 at the municipal building.
Move it.
Second?
Second.
On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Resolved, City Chamberlain is hereby authorized and directed to transfer $35,911 from the A7110.1 Parks account to the A5142.1 Snow Removal account and $12,459 from the A7266.1 Ice Skating Rink account to the A5142.1 Snow Removal account to cover the salaries of 2 city employees who have been transferred from the Recreation Department to the Department of Public Works.
Somebody want to move that?
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Before we vote, I'd just like to say that I'm not so sure I understand the intent of this resolution. We were led to believe that the transfer of recreation personnel would accomplish a cost savings of $60,000 to the taxpayer. Now, transferring this $48,000 and change doesn't demonstrate a savings to me. The taxpayer is not a fool not to see this. As a Public Works committeeman, I've studied the Public Works accounts for the 95 budget, as you all have, I'm sure, and I would conclude that based on the present funding, there is no need to make this transfer. Now, I know last week Mr. Weston said this particular department was down 7 men. And for anyone's information, the Public Works staff actually grew in 1994. It went from 33 personnel to 37. And during the budget hearings 2 months ago, we discussed this, yet all 37 positions were funded for 1995. It was the intent of the council, is the intent of the council to increase this department staffing to 6 employees, additionally over the span of the last year. When you take into consideration the staffing for the new garbage program, where it's only going to take, once we get the new vehicle, 3 men instead of 13 to do the same job, this really doesn't make sense. In our budget hearings, the council stood firm on not reducing the workforce, so all 37 positions were funded, even though they won't be needed. The wisdom presented was to accomplish workforce reduction by attrition. I argue that because the power to hire and fire does not lie with this council, we should examine more closely the funding we were going to do for these positions, yet attrition was the answer. And I'll remind you that 2 months ago, a Public Works employee suddenly died, and because the funding was there, he was immediately replaced by a new hiree. So attrition isn't working just yet. My examination shows the 37-man department is without the services of 4 employees who are on disability leave. 2 are expected back this month. 1, I guess, was back, but I understand he was let go. I don't know if that's a confirmation or not. I heard that report. The other 2 could be a permanent disability situation. So being as these men won't appear to be drawing their salary, which is funded, so the transfer to recreation employees can be accomplished by placing them into these slots. And furthermore, there's a retirement of another DPW employee effective March 1st, and this presents yet another slot for one of the transfers to fill. Now, further, this money that's being transferred causes the Public Works account to create a surplus of over $63,000 in the salary account. Since the 37 positions have been funded, and that's in addition to $43,000 in overtime that's been funded. Since the 37 positions have been funded and 34 are currently drawing off the salary, I don't understand the intent of this transfer other than to increase the staffing, and I would be wholly against that. And I would urge you also to take a closer look before you vote on this.
Motion on the floor and seconded.
I'll just make a couple comments if I could. It was my understanding that the amount of people who were down is from the personnel that was laid off whenever those layoffs occurred. That most other departments came back to full strength, but DPW remained understaffed. So that was the figure that I was using. I think the transfer from recreation to DPW was recommended by the recreation superintendent, and that was why that action was being taken. I think also the people that we are putting in place will enable that overtime figure to come down considerably, so there'll be savings there. And we do intend to do more things.
So therefore, you intend to extend the staffing to 39, irregardless of the fact the garbage program is going to be reduced by 10 personnel.
My understanding is that if attrition is a factor, and also that this will enable us not to hire additional people.
Mayor, may I speak?
Could you come up to the microphone, please?
Sure. My name is Bruce Thorpe. I'm here for the Recreation Commission. I'm a member. The question I'd like to ask is, if you transfer the money at this time and another situation involves maybe the Recreation Department having to operate the community center on a part-time basis or a full-time basis, would it be wise to table this until possibly next meeting or after you met with the Recreation Commission itself?
I would so move that. I would motion to table this.
I'll second it. I think the transfer of people has already taken place, right?
Yes, they have. The transfer has taken place and the funding is already there.
On the motion to table, please call the roll, Mr. Teacher.
Alderman Lincoln.
Yes.
Alderman Termidge.
Yes.
Alderman Weston.
No.
Alderman Cavallaro.
I'll just point out that the two people that were transferred, as I understand it, know how to drive snowplows, whereas some of the other employees are not capable or haven't had that experience at this time, which proves to be an advantage to the city. So I vote yes. Or no, I'm sorry.
No.
We're voting.
What are we voting? A negative?
Voting to table.
Oh, no. No.
Voting to table the transfer of money,
No.
not the personnel.
No.
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 Mr. Allen?
Motion to table is defeated, Your Honor.
On the motion to transfer the money, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Lincoln.
No.
Alderman Termidge.
Well, for all the reasons stated, no.
Alderman Weston.
Yes.
Alderman Cavallaro.
Yes.
Alderman Trowbridge.
Yes.
Alderman Allen.
Yes, for all the reasons stated.
The motion is carried. Notation that bids were received for the Nestle Storm Sewer Project on January 12, 1995 up to 4 p.m. and publicly opened at 4:15 in the council chambers of the municipal building. They were then referred to Nussbaumer and Clark for the review and recommendation to be returned to the Common Council at a future meeting. Resolved that the appointment by Mayor Bullard, Ayala Cardinelli, 808 Fay Street, Fulton, New York, the Fulton Library Board, effective immediately and to expire December 31st, 1997, is hereby approved.
I'll move it.
Second.
It's a notation. So,
Should be.
No, it's a resolution.
No, it's
Point.
a resolution.
It's a resolution.
On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Resolved that the police department is hereby authorized and directed to conduct a traffic study at the intersections of West 4th Street and Cedar Street and West 4th Street and Chestnut Street for the feasibility of installing four-way stop signs at these locations.
you want to move that?
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Does the Lake Committee want to make a presentation? Would you be able to complete it in 20 minutes?
Oh, I think half an hour, all right. We'll move along fast if we can. I want to thank you very much for this opportunity to discuss the lake plans with you. We understand the realities of these times, but we would like to move ahead with our plans. As you know, the Lake Committee's work is divided into two parts: reclamation work and shoreline development. On the reclamation work, we put a progress report in your mail the other day, so we won't get into that because I think you can read that, and we want to use the time for the shoreline development. And I have a release here for the press, which is based upon the same release, the same document that we gave you a few days ago. Our purpose tonight is to discuss what the committee would like to do with the shoreline development. You remember that in 1993, the Landscape and Prospect published an opportunities plan for the shoreline. That cost $12,500, and the city of Fulton contributed to it, the town of Granby contributed to it, and the Lake Committee contributed to it. We had many public hearings, and we do believe we had good acceptance of that report. We now would like to proceed with the implementation of that shoreline development plan, and we've been working with consultant C.T. Mail Associates, who have put together such a plan. The plan consists of three phases. Phase 1, an organizational phase. Phase 2, a construction phase. And Phase 3, an operational phase. C.T. Mail are interested in phases 1 and 2, and Phase 3, the operational phase, will require a recommendation from them to the city about how to actually operate the shoreline when it's completed. Tonight we would like to discuss only the Phase 1, the organizational phase. Regarding the money for that phase, we're not asking any from the city. As you will remember, in 1993, Senator Wright got a member item for us of $50,000. That was in 1993. In 1994, we finally, near the end of the year, got word from the DEC that they were going to administer that grant. And here it is 1995, and we're waiting for the money the best word we have is that we will have it in somewhere around April. We were very fortunate to get $20,000 from the NBA. And that's the $20,000 that I think will enable us to go ahead at this time. Incidentally, the money from the state and the contract from the state will be made out to both the city and the Lake Committee, but the $20,000 from the NBA came just to the Lake Committee. The Phase 1 contract is for $30,500, but what we would like to do would be to sign a contract with CT Mail that will cover the $30,500, but will be limited itself at this point only to $20,000. And then later on, when the right grant comes through, we would then add $10,500. I'll now introduce Dr. Body, who will discuss the Phase 1 portion that we would like to go ahead with. Incidentally, we are prepared to sign this contract, but we want to do it with your support.
As Joe mentioned, you all have had opportunity to look at the Lake Opportunities Plan, and as you know, it's very extensive. It's made up of many parts, and it brings up many questions that need to be answered. Questions on marketing, environmental concerns, legal, architectural, financial. And when we looked at that, we realized we needed the expertise of a professional consultant, and that's why we started to interview some people for that position. Now, we interviewed 4 prospects, and only one was actually comprehensive in their approach. One group was willing to tackle all of those questions that I just mentioned. This was CT Mail Associates, and we have representatives with us tonight from that company. We asked that they submit a copy of scope of services proposal and a contract for the Phase 1, the organizational phase of the Opportunities Plan, and you should all have copies of that this evening. As Joe said, the Phase 1 cost is $30,500. Now, the good news is it isn't going to cost the city any money. The way things went tonight, I thought you'd want to know that.
We spent a lot.
Yeah. The committee does have at its disposal, as Joe said, $20,000, and we've asked that the CT Mail make a proposal and a contract to reflect the $20,000 that we already have and the $10,500 that we anticipate from the Senator Wright AIDS to Localities grant. Because of the way things are in Albany now, we ask that the proposal be written that way, because although we anticipate that money coming along pretty soon, we're just not sure of the timing of it. So this evening, what we're asking is that you listen to the proposal of the CT Mail Associates, that you comment on that proposal, that you make recommendations or modifications, and then if acceptable, that you give your approval to the Lake Committee to proceed with the contract to begin Phase 1. And as Joe said, when the $10,500 comes through, then we need your approval again, because that's a contract that is administered both through the city and the Lake Committee. So I'd like to introduce Matt Naparella from CT Mail. Matt is the project manager. Matt has a Bachelor of Science degree in engineering and is registered in the state of New York, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, state of Florida as a professional engineer. Matt.
Thanks, Dr. Body. What I have as well for distribution, you have a fax copy. I want to give you a official version of the contract. It includes our standard terms and conditions as well, so you get the full package that we presented to the Lake Committee. What I want to do is just briefly give you a little bit of background, how we got involved with Dr. Body and Dr. Allerton and the Lake Committee. How we all got involved is as a result of kind of our own marketing efforts and paying attention to what's going on in the communities of the area. And back in September of '93, following a presentation that was made to this council from Dudley Breed and the committee, the very good article was written by the press that indicated of a potential project to revitalize and utilize the underutilized Lake Netawanta. From that article, we approached Dr. Body and the committee and asked them what the plans were of the committee and what direction they'd like to go into. From several discussions and from the understanding that they were looking for some assistance as far as a management scheme and as well as some professional consulting assistance to carry these concepts into some reality, to turn what is now an underutilized portion of the city of Fulton into an asset, which it should be. And we have some expertise and some general knowledge in this type of a project, and we felt we could help. That was, like I said, in '93. So for the past year, what we've been doing, and as you've noticed, there's been no bills from our firm either, and we are a consulting firm. What that means is this is how we make a living, so unfortunately we have to charge so we can put bread on our tables as well. My boss doesn't like it too much if I go about and do my work for nothing. So for that reason, but at the same time we felt this was a very good project, a project to strengthen the city of Fulton, and also a project which we felt we could provide some expertise in. And for that reason, for the past year, we've been involved with the Lake Committee and Dr. Body, and again, Dr. Allerton, in several instances. We've been involved attempting to get some grant monies for this front-end study. Unfortunately, some of those efforts have not completed yet, and that dealt with some UDC monies through a federal grant, and Ed Musinski is the head of that out of Rochester, and we put some attention to him. As well, we joined the committee members in marketing the project to some of the local industries and some of the local potential financiers on the privatization of the project itself. As well, we had some strategic planning sessions. How can we take this from where we are now to the next step? The project goal and what's been instilled upon us as a consultant, that what this project has to be is an asset when it's completed and not a burden. We want this project to show profit and show that it can stand alone and it's not going to be a burden on the city of Fulton. The first step to determine that is to try to get a business plan. We have a glorified concept out on the table right now, and we have to determine if that's going to work. That does, we have some background, some research to get involved to do that. Part of what our task has been, we are a consulting engineering firm. What I indicated all along to Dr. Body, what I would attempt to do as a project manager on this job is if we didn't have that expert capability to provide a certain portion of the project, we would put him in right attention to get some expertise in that area. For an upfront marketing and economic analysis, we have teamed with Knowledge Systems and Research out of Syracuse, and Rebecca Livingood is here tonight to present as well the establishment of this business plan to determine the viability of this project. This is the first step. And you ask, well, why do you have to perform this step? We have to perform this for several reasons. First, again, we have to determine if it's a viable project, not only to you, the city of Fulton, to make sure that any future investments is going to be to fruition and we can make some profits off of this, but also for us to take it to the next step and to get some federal and state grant monies. Their monies are out there. There's monies out there that the federal government and the state are putting forth to recreational as well as to municipal projects. We want to make sure we bring some of that state money that we all pay taxes on. Let's bring it to Fulton so Fulton can get the use of the tax monies that all the people are putting in and out of their own pocket every day. As well, part of the overall plan is to get some privatization and get some other interest involved in the project. To do that, and if you go to a developer, he's going to want to see a business plan. This is what we are going to provide at the end of this project, is a developed business plan that we can present and that we can sell this project, and we can sell to a campground group. And they say, well, how do I know it's going to make money? From the research that's going to be performed and from the study, we would be able to come back and say, here's the numbers, here's the analysis, this is a viable option for you. you should be involved with this project because not only is it good for the city of Fulton, it's good for you as a private developer. That's the type of answers we're looking for at the end result of this project. My individual or CT Mail's portion of this front-end business plan will be to determine an engineering analysis, making sure that the existing infrastructure can satisfy the needs of the potential development. We'll take a look at the needed federal and state permitting associated with a potential project, dealing with wetlands issues and dealing with floodplain issues and environmental concerns. Also, you deal with the state historical and preservation people. Is this a preserved area that we have to pay additional attention to? We deal with land use. There's also been a question raised as far as some of the ownership and the extent of ownership. We'll take a look at some of those issues. But again, one of the strong points that we want to bring apart with this is the marketing and economic analysis, which I'm going to present now Rebecca Livingood to kind of touch upon those areas for the project itself. And what we want to do tonight is make ourselves available if you have any questions of our tact and what we're going to do, and present ourselves to you, the council members, as representatives of the people of Fulton. Thank you. Rebecca.
Thank you, Matt. Alderman, Mayor, good to see you again. I'm Rebecca Livingood. I'm with Knowledge Systems and Research. We are a market research company based in Syracuse. We also do economic development planning and development project feasibility analysis for a wide variety of clients, including public sector, government, and also private developers. So we work both sides of the street, as they say. And in fact, we're very familiar with Fulton. About a year ago, we helped your community development agency prepare the successful grant application for an economic development zone here, and we've worked with the CDA on other occasions. And we also did some work for Operation Oswego County having to do with the impact of the Miller closing on the businesses here in Fulton and the suppliers to Miller. So we're familiar with their economy as well. As Matt said, what we're proposing to do for you is to prepare a business plan to make real and operational the Lake Opportunities Plan that you have reviewed and looked at, and I think generally agreed with. My review of that plan is that there are some wonderfully realistic things in there that can be done. The questions that we don't know are, can it be done in a way that's self-supporting? And what is the market for the elements that have been proposed? So what Knowledge Systems and Research will do is to determine what the market demand is for the uses that are proposed. We will quantify that in dollar terms, in visitation terms, and so on. We will then make some judgments about what the best leasing and management practices are in our region, how are other communities that have similar situations handling this, and what has their experience been. And then we will apply those best practices to what we have found in the market, and we will suggest changes if in fact that's needed. If it appears that some additional facilities of a slightly more commercial nature would really help out, we won't be afraid to tell you that. And we then try to put together what reasonable development packages might be, and all that means is if there is a money-making concession operation next to something that won't make money, maybe it makes sense to package those together, and the operator who is going to be running the concessions also needs to maintain the picnic area, for example. When we have done that, we will then do income and expense projections, and we'll do as many rounds as it takes to get as close to what we would call the feasible plan. And then with CT Mail, we'll identify the financing and funding needs and assist in any grant applications, in identifying those grant applications that may be necessary. And we'll also prepare for you as part of this business plan, and a traditional part of that business plan is the next steps. What steps do the committee and the city have to take to bring this to full operation? Matt, we're taking questions? Matt, we're taking...
Yeah, we can take questions. Again, when we're done with this project, we're going to have a business plan to establish the project, and a business plan which, as Rebecca just said, will give the next steps. As well, what we hope to do is put attention to on the privatization, who might be interested in development of certain portions. The plan now calls for some restaurant uses. In the research, what we hope to find out is who may be interested, making sure that we have a TAC that is sellable and we have a product that is usable and sellable for the overall project. So again, the project is a success and the project becomes an asset. One other thing that I'd like to say is the city of Fulton is should be very grateful to the Lake Committee. In our experiences, both Rebecca's and myself, we haven't run across a private, nonprofit, and non-paying committee that has gone to the length that these gentlemen have to provide not only the reclamation, but as well got as far on the offshore issues that I've seen in my experiences. I think these gentlemen deserve some appreciation of the council as well as the people of Fulton. Again, questions, please feel free.
I think you're right about the Lake Committee. They've done a great job.
Absolutely. I don't have a question. I think I missed something. It was Mr. Allerton or Mr. Body. Did you mention that is Senator Wright's grant a guaranteed grant? Do you know at this time?
Well, I don't know how you classify it as guaranteed. We were notified that the grant was given to the grant money were given to the DEC for disbursement. They asked us for the proposal on how it's going to be broken down. They received that. The next step is for them to send us a contract. When I talked to them the last time, they said it should be 6 or 8 weeks, and we should be receiving the money. Now that's close.
Okay, so the money has been set aside. It's not newly budgeted or...
No, it's not newly budgeted. Now that does not necessarily mean, and I mentioned this earlier, I'm sure that something could come up where that money is going to be deferred, where you don't necessarily get it this year. We were notified in 93, and this is 95. So we know that the money's out there, and hopefully we're going to get it when they said we're going to get it. But again, we're not. That's why we're asking this contract be written the way it is, so that money is not guaranteed in the contract. So we can work on the part of the contract for which we do have money.
I understand that.
So if I can just elaborate for the visitors here, our contract is written so that our work in progress will be limited to the $20,000 of the money.
Yes, I understand that. I just wonder if that will stop us in the middle of something and...
We hope not. Again, we have enough confidence at this point in time, based on the communication, that everything will progress in a logical manner. So, but because there's no guarantees in government, that is why we've established it. What we don't want to do is become a burden on the city of Fulton, ourselves as consultants. So we're going to limit our work to the work in progress of the amounts that are cash in hand now. Once, hopefully in the next 6 to 8 weeks, those monies will be as well cash in hand, so we can continue our normal progression for the project and have a product that we can have in our scheduled time frame that we've established in the contract.
I guess maybe I'm not making myself clear. If we spent it, I understand you're only going to do as much work as $20,000. If all cash dried up at $20,000, would we have some kind of a working document?
Yeah, I think
I mean, that we could totally go forward with, you know, I mean, you're talking the difference between $20,000 and $10,500 difference. So would that leave us so short that we would not have anything to go ahead of if this money never came in? Would we be spending $20,000 to get nothing? That's what I'm asking. Do you know what I mean?
The answer is that you would certainly not get nothing. I mean, that's clear.
Right.
You would not get as finished a product as you would get for $30,000. I mean, $10,000 or a third of the project is a significant portion of the project, and I think we would have to back off on some of the final kinds of analysis, but the basic the basic market analysis, the basic projections, and the work that Matt does up front on the engineering feasibility.
Would we get all 4 phases for the 20,000, but not as complete a phase, or would we get just 2 phases?
We don't intend, for the scope of work as we see it, to break it out, North Bay, Bullhead Point, Esplanade. The scope of the work that we see is all-encompassing. As we determine engineering feasibility, as Rebecca sees the economic viability, it's all-encompassing for the overall project. Now, there will be specialties of the restaurant areas near Bullhead Point. Will definitely be specialties which will pull out. But it won't be, you won't get a package for North Bay and Bullhead Point and, oh, okay, the money's dried up. As we see the project progressing and how we intend on providing a product that will answer the questions and prepare a proper plan for the project, it's not a phase per construction site area. It is a scope of work, and so I guess what Rebecca is saying, the final product of it, what we see is the value of this product is the total fee of $30,500. At $20,000, we can give you some strong opinions. We can give you some definite direction, but you are limited in the fact that the third of our work is yet to come. And unfortunately, that is how, in looking at pricing out the job, we're going to end up. But you're going to have some very strong answers at the end of 20,000, and we feel very supportive and that the monies will be here and this will be a non-issue. But again, for protection and so that it's not a burden on the city, that's why we've established the contract as such.
I guess if that be the case, and if that ever materializes, then it would be encompassing upon the committee to approach the council for additional money. Is that correct?
Our thought was not to approach the council, but we felt that if that $10,500 was not coming from Senator Wright in a reasonable amount of time, that we would try and either through some local support or other available grants, we try to raise that money and continue the project on itself.
Sure.
One thing I mentioned in my initial talk, the UDC is another grant source for feasibility or front-end study monies that might be able to continue the work on this project. There are some opportunities if it comes down to that.
So you guys feel that you could raise the rest of the money? I mean, it seems to me you would want a complete working
we don't
report.
want to stop this.
You're right.
We have some other alternatives. There have been people we've approached who would like to make donations. As a matter of fact, they asked us to make presentations. They've held off on the actual donations. I'm thinking maybe because they wanted to see where things were going to progress. With this step forward, these people would probably be a little bit more attentive, and now we could actually go to them with a specified amount for a specified purpose, where before it was kind of open-ended.
Right.
We say, look, we want to finish this project, we need X amount of dollars, can you help us out? I think we would get some help in many other areas.
Okay, because it seems like half a plan is, you know, sometimes short, but you're confident in that.
Well, we didn't have a whole lot of choices because we either had to use the $20,000 or lose the $20,000.
Right.
This was a way that we could get the ball rolling, as it were, while other sources were being developed. And we know that we've been promised. Actually, the grant from Senator Wright is $50,000, so we would have more than enough when that money comes through. It's a matter of when, and I underline the word when. We didn't want to wait for that, because if that takes another 6 or 8 months, we're waiting. We could lose the $20,000, lose these people, and then have gotten nowhere.
Right.
This way, at least we're getting the ball rolling. And we could do it without, as you said, without the burden on the city, because the money was available.
So now you see how the committee works. Very, very well thought out.
We've always been pleased with their remarks. Could you explain the other phase? Remember, we had talked, Mike, and you had said at one time we would come and we would sort of work on an open-ended contract together. Is that the next phase of the project? There was some, if we could get into more specifics of the needs that the feasibility studies, that we would be working the city.
If you have, we felt that if you had some specific questions that you wanted these people to answer, that this would be the stage between now and when a contract is signed, that those things would be worked into the contract, and these people would address those issues as you felt that they needed to be answered.
Okay, and that's it.
That's why they're here, so that you can, if you have questions now or in between now and when the contract is signed, if you have something.
Right, there was a time span we could meet or submit our questions. Or okay.
When is it you hope to sign this contract?
Well, the format would be that, first of all, we didn't want to do anything until you all approved what we were doing. So when is to your satisfaction that what's in that contract is acceptable, then we will approach the people from the NBA to release the $20,000. And I don't know what time span that takes that from actual money situation, and then we would sign the contract. We would sign the contract anytime after that. So the crux of it is we wanted to make sure that the council understood what we were doing, approved of the steps we're taking, and had in it any questions to be answered that you would have, so that these people would answer them. So however long it would take you to put the package together that you're satisfied with. Yes.
So you're just here for our approval tonight, I mean. Thanks.
I just have a couple comments and a couple questions. Certainly, as a city official, I am personally involved with the development of the city, and I think that the Lake Committee has done a tremendous job in working many years to get to this point. So now that the dream has been out there, and now it looks like that we're ready for reality. So it's certainly nice to have the people from CT Mail here tonight to give us a little bit of an idea of how they're going to start. What time frame are we talking about? How long will it take you people to do what you have to do?
Once we get authorization to proceed, we're looking at about a 12-week or a 3-month time frame before a completed, finalized report is prepared and a formal presentation made.
I'll just finish up and then I'll take. Okay, go ahead.
Is any of our Native American study been done on this project?
No study.
In 1930s, that land was set aside by the city of Fulton, Native American. When Iroquois Lane was built, it made some of the white area. I was trying to get a hold of some of our legislators and trying to get a hold of me, but I've always been out of town. But nothing in the city is now, for instance, except for Capital outside the city, that had to have historical studies done on the property. That, to me, is probably the oldest Native American trade site of Central New York. It's not a grave site, it's a trade site, in my opinion.
Well, to answer that, and one thing that I mentioned is the State Historical and Preservation group out of Albany. That would be something that we'll pay attention to as part of this.
I suggest the city does pay attention.
Oh, certainly. That's part of determining the viability and also what is the usable use according to all issues, environmental and historical preservation as well. So at the end result, we'll have a determination of specific sensitive areas or areas which have been altered and development may progress. So that's part of the answers that you should see at the end result of this work.
So it covers all those different areas then?
If I may, Bob, I'll just speak to Mr. Sequin. I remember you talking with me about 3 months ago about that issue. I personally spent many hours researching. In the date period that you gave me, I did not find anything. I'm not saying it's not there, but I didn't discover anything. Okay. The other matter you discussed with me, I did find, and I have that.
Mr. Sequin, is there a specific area there that's?
Yes, there is.
Okay, and they'll know that then.
Well,
one thing that we ask as part of, for us to get all the facts and information is that information that is at hand. We don't want to redo some work that's already done. We want to gather information and then make opinions based on that. And if we have to spend 40 hours to try to dig something out, if there's information available, this is part of what's written in the contract proposal, that information that's available, you know, don't hide secrets. We're trying to make something good for the community. Let's bring it out now when we're involved with this front end work, so that we have the facts and we know how far we can go and what's our limitations and what's the development potential as well. This is a community project. We want everyone to be involved.
I certainly agree with that, and I think that so far I'm hearing that it is not going to be something that the city's going to have to bear a tremendous amount of cost for. But if we do, at what stage do we commit ourselves, or approval? Approval is a commitment to do what?
At this stage, the approval that we're asking for now is just that you agree that we would sign the contract with these people, that you have no disagreement, I should say, with us signing the contract with these people to allow them to proceed with this phase 1 study. That does not commit to the entire project. I mean, obviously...
Because each particular phase is then, it comes before the council for their...
That's correct. That's correct,
okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Now also, so the cost of the city would be under control or whatever. We could control that based on
there's no cost.
Our involvement, yeah. No, I mean later down the line or whatever.
Oh, sure.
And also with grants, what kind of a commitment do we end up there if we accept grants?
Well, the grant from Senator Wright, there's no commitment. That's not a matching grant. That's
No, but I mean when we get into matching grants, that's when we're...
We haven't even discussed that. I mean, at that point, you have the right to accept or turn down anything. But that's some of the things these people are going to help us with. We haven't discussed the city's involved any further than this stage right now.
Okay.
Well, if you're aware of many matching grants can be utilized in different ways, of in-kind services, not only just cash, but other things that can be associated with the city and CTML and also.
Right. Good.
So it isn't just matching money.
Monies, yeah.
Should this be done by way of a resolution or just a consent, general consent from the council?
It should be done in a resolution.
Yeah, I got a preliminary from Mike Body, and what I did, I told him that we would use this time frame tonight to ask our questions, to get the information together, and I would think we would have a resolution ready to look at as a matter of approval at our next common council meeting.
Is it okay?
Sure. The sooner the better, obviously, but if you need time to look it over, that's not a problem.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
From my perspective, I just want to add that the Lake Reclamation Committee with Mr. Body and Mr. Allerton have done a superb job. They have worked on an ambitious project, have been exhaustive for non-pay for several years now, and I'm just glad to see it rolling up to the launching pad at this point. Hopefully we can get this going. They deserve a lot of credit.
Make a motion, we adjourn?
I'll second it.
I have a couple questions.
Whoa, the motion.
Something happened out there.
I've got some discussion.
Ready?
I'm Steve Phelps, Fulton, the president of the Fulton Youth Hockey Association, and I got a phone call tonight from Don Kernan, who is operating the rink, saying that he was told that there's an injunction and he is to leave the premises tonight. And my question is, what's going on? And obviously we've got 157 kids in the hockey program, 80 kids in the figure skating program, men's league. You know, I don't know what's going on. Obviously, thought that we had an agreement, you had an agreement with Don Kernan to operate the rink, we had an agreement that we had a viable ice program that would go on. And I think, certainly I'm here to ask for Fulton Youth Hockey. We have the men's league, we have figure skating. Don Kernan's the one that called me and told me that there was a common council meeting tonight, and that's why I'm here. So obviously I want to know what's going on, and
I'll make a brief statement. Two aldermen, Alderman Taramigi and Alderman Lincoln, on January 12th signed a petition asking that the management agreement, and I'm putting it in layman's terms, asking that the management agreement be declared null and void and that the city no longer honor its contract with the Syracuse Stars. I received what's called a temporary restraining order at approximately 6:30 this evening. It's about an inch and a half thick, so I obviously haven't read it. But the gist of it is that the rink will have to be closed.
Why?
You'll have to ask the two aldermen who started the lawsuit. That's what the judge said.
okay, I'll go back to the meeting where it was voted, where they brought out the fact that it was illegal. But it was voted through.
Right.
Okay? And you said, if it's null and void,
If it's determined by a court to be null and void, then but they got what's called a temporary restraining order, which means the legal issue has not been decided.
okay,
Obviously, the city has not had a chance to present its case. Obviously, Mr. Kernan hasn't had a chance to present his case. They're the ones that asked for a preliminary injunction and a temporary restraining order. They very easily could have just brought a lawsuit and not asked for the temporary relief. They put the city in a position where the rink has to be closed.
well, obviously,
If I may interject here.
Well, I'm not going to get into legal.
Well, you're making a statement, I just want to comment on that statement.
Well,
The order signed by the Honorable Judge Nicholson states that the care, custody, and control of the premises set forth in the agreement shall temporarily revert back to the city of Fulton. It does not say the ring should shut down. Also, it is
it also
ordered
doesn't say it has to operate.
the care, custody, and control, correct. Who made the statement that it has to shut down?
I did.
On what premise? I don't understand your statement.
Because the management agreement's been declared null and void.
Well, that does not say that the rink has to shut down.
Well, does the city have the men and the facilities and the people?
I believe so. And if the mayor would have,
That's the decision of the council.
if the mayor would appoint me as charge of a task force, we probably could get that open.
I guess if I might speak, I don't like having 250 some kids between the different programs, being the pawn in between.
We don't either.
Well,
We're not
Okay.
going to do this.
Well, no,
but I'll back up and say, understand, nobody that I could hear when this was voted on, after they heard that it was illegal, said, time out, let's find out what we've got to do here. Well, but it was raised as an issue at that point. My point is,
And when it was raised as on an issue, it should have been looked into before we voted on it. And I had talked to a gentleman from Albany who administers the program for the state of New York for the federal government, and he told me to tell the council that night not to take any action, and that's what I did. But the four aldermen chose to vote on what he said was an illegal agreement.
right, and you chose to do what you did.
Well,
I know, and that's why we brought the suit.
what we chose to do was to refer it to our attorney, who said as far as he was concerned, it was legal. So based on that,
Well-
we made that decision.
Well, the contract is legal and binding. There's no ifs, ands, buts about that. It's the procedures that happened before that were the illegal parts
Well, I think
of the process.
I think you're getting into the realm of legal technicalities, which you probably shouldn't be doing.
I agree, Councilman. I think the question the gentleman is presenting is why is the rink caused to be shut down? I see no reason whatsoever, if I may conclude, I see no reason whatsoever when the funding was there through the end of August.
I must advise you as your attorney
not to discuss this issue anymore. We're discussing the merits of this case, and I would ask both aldermen or my clients not to discuss this matter at this time. We'll resolve this in a court of law. Thank you very much. Could I raise a question?
I'll raise a point of order, Mayor. There's a motion on the floor to adjourn.
Well, no, I have a couple other things.
I have
There's a motion on the floor to adjourn.
Well,
We have an open forum,
Yes.
Alderman. I have some discussion, city business I'd like to
Right.
discuss.
and I also too, and it's a problem that has been continuous at two residents in my ward, 64 West 1st Street and 152 West 3rd Street, with continuous problems of garbage. It seems like every week I have to call Monica McKenzie, who's probably tired of answering my telephone calls, asking her to fill out a work order to get garbage picked up at those two residences. Now, I'd like to ask our city attorney if there's anything that we can do to just, by ways of a resolution or something, to pass where we can just go and pick those households up from garbage. Huh?
Is that it, Jeff? Well, I have a point here. I want to discuss local law number 7, which we adopted last March 15th. Under Title 14 of the Charter. It has to do with removal of snow and ice from private property. Briefly, this law was provided that any record property owner wishing to have snow and ice removed from its property by the city DPW would have to pay a fee, and we established a fee of $80 an hour. Last week I was approached by a group of businessmen on West Broadway who own businesses between West 2nd and West 4th Street. This is a business district. They were concerned that their sidewalks were not cleared after the snowstorm last Wednesday. It gave their businesses the appearance that they were not open. One businessman pointed out that the city cleared the sidewalk in front of his establishment for the past 29 years that he's been in operation. I discussed this matter with the commissioner. He has deferred to this local law I'm speaking of for the reason that his department did not clear the sidewalks. He stated that the only section of the business district that is actually in the business assessment district over on West Broadway. Those are the businesses that have their sidewalks cleared. All others must apply and pay the fee. That's what the commissioner said, and accurately so. Basically, those businesses included in the assessment district are in it because of their location to the municipal parking lot over there. And these businesses are paying an average assessment of less than $200 apiece. That's equal to roughly 2.5 hours of snow removal by our $80 an hour assessment. I would ask that the Public Works Committee revisit this local law from a particular standpoint, and it's this. Sales tax revenue is our lifeblood. There are 10 businesses over on West Broadway that are in a business district, and they're currently excluded now under this local law from having their sidewalks cleared. During their last storm, I said their businesses were essentially inaccessible due to the snowstorm. They lost business, the city lost tax revenue. Meanwhile, competitors, in some cases just 30 feet away, had their sidewalks cleared because they were in the assessment district. And as I stated before, they paid less than $200 on average for the course of the year. I believe we need to work with all our businesses and the business community in this regard, and especially within a business district. They are our tax collectors. We should attempt to keep them open for business. Therefore, again, I would ask the Public Works Committee that we would meet and take an earnest look at this. And maybe we can bring something back to the council and the public to address this.
Right, I'll be glad to do that.
We have addressed these concerns with Commissioner Graham too, and there was a problem with 2 of our loaders being broke last week. That's why we couldn't get 2.
Well, what he's talking about, they're in the assessment district. He's talking about.
Okay, so either Brian, we did have concerns about the cost of that also.
I have one other short one here. I have a request from a city resident, a former 5th Ward alderman, that he inquired as to the feasibility of the city clearing off a section of Sharps Pond. He would like to see this spot available for those who wish to ice skate but can't afford the fees that are necessary at the ice rink. So I will refer this to the City Recreation Committee for their study, and I'm just making you aware of that. So that's all I have.
Excuse me, mister. Could you let me do this for a minute? If I might address the council for a moment regarding the injunction which the city's been served with. I'd first like to point out that I'm not here representing anyone. I'm holding a copy of the injunction due to the courtesy of one of our local attorneys. I'm here as the parent of 2 girls who have devoted a number of years to figure skating and as a longtime member of the Fulton Figure Skating Club. I'm looking at an injunction which will not be heard until the 10th day of February. On the 11th day of February of this year, the Fulton Figure Skating Club is scheduled to sponsor a test session wherein the members of the club and others would have an opportunity to be tested to advance their levels of accomplishment. In the event that the rink does not function between now and February 10th, and in the event that there is between now and February 10th uncertainty as to what the future may bring, that session will have to be canceled to the detriment of all of those children. Without reading the entire order to show cause, I note that the final 2 paragraphs read, ordered that care, custody, and control of the premises set forth in the management agreement shall temporarily revert to the city of Fulton until further order of this court. And it is further ordered that the Recreation Commission of the city of Fulton shall continue to temporarily operate, equip, and maintain the premises as set forth in Chapter 23 of the City Charter of the City of Fulton until further order of this court. I understand that there is a dispute going on here between various members of the council. I understand that that is perhaps the nature of our political process. But I do believe that we should not allow that political process to randomly and arbitrarily impact our children. The children, both of the Fulton Figure Skating Club and of youth hockey, have apparently pursued their assorted goals on the assumption that they would have at least this year in which to skate. And I would ask the council, before they consider their response to this injunction and the order to show cause, to consider not the battle, but the temporary situation and its impact on the children, and make provision so that between now and February 10th, when this issue is decided by a court, that the children may pursue their activities and goals and not be deprived because of the political process. Thank you. I'd like to make a comment. I got a problem with even talking. This is in litigation. You know, you have to understand something. There's 2 aldermen did this. They asked for a temporary restraining order. They did not have to do that. They could have, I didn't interrupt you people. Okay? They could have very simply just brought a lawsuit, asked that the question be litigated. Since the municipality is involved, it could have been done on an expedited basis. They didn't have to ask for what's called a temporary restraining order. I haven't even read this. I don't know what it means. I haven't even been served yet. I just found one in my mailbox.
We just received
Mr.
it.
Kernan hasn't been served. Okay? I mean, you know, you're all jumping on us, and we're not the ones that did this.
No, well, you're the one who's saying that you're shutting the rink down.
Well, that's what the order says.
No, it's not. That's not what I clearly heard this gentleman read. That last paragraph said that it is back under the control of the
Well,
rink.
you have to read the entire document now. You just can't read 2 sentences. That's almost a 100-page document.
Is there any consideration for the contract that the city signed with Fulton Men's League for the duration of our season through March that was signed by the Recreation Commission, which we all three have? We have a signed contract with the city for the rental of that facility.
I don't want to cut you off. I think that at this point, we need to look over our alternatives.
Could I just make a comment concerning the folk figure skating and the test session that Mr. Ryan was referring to? If in fact they do close the rink and we do have to abolish the test session, to cancel it, it's not just the kids of our own town and our own club members, which is the main concern, but it's also of the area, and it would be some impact to the city. We have judges coming in. It costs the club a lot of money to put on a test session. We have to fly in judges, and we're having a gold test session. For those of you that aren't familiar with figure skating, everything progresses in levels. It's just like when you watch the Olympics, you know, bronze, silver, gold. Gold is as high as you can go as far as awards. We're putting on a gold test session, which means the kids in the area, and we're doing it in conjunction with the club in Syracuse, because the availability to get these kind of judges, we've had a tough time securing them, and which we've done, and this could really put a serious burden on us as a club, and of course it would affect the city because people will come and stay overnight, you know, and the judges, we fly them in, pay the room and boards and all that, and they stay locally. We don't have them in Syracuse or whatever. We stay in the local hotels and things. But it's concern, and my concern, of course, is where's that put us? You know, if they in fact do close it. Now, I realize there's a legal question involved here, but I think that before the decision is made, or before you say you're going to close it, you just told me or told us that you haven't read it, you just received a copy of the injunction. Maybe before you make the statement that it will be closed, you could, you know.
Well, there's also another very simple solution. There's a very simple solution. That's the 2 aldermen that decide to do this can just say, why don't we litigate the issue and forget the temporary restraining? Then it can be decided in just the normal course of events. That's a very simple solution.
Well, I'm not here also to argue. I just want to make some points that, you know, for the sake of the club and the kids, and it's
maybe
the whole area.
I don't know where you're going with this, Counselor, but I'll say this at this point. That rink community center is funded through May of 1995, so there is no need to close the rink down. So you may make all the remarks you want, but that rink is funded.
I realize that you've just been hit with this, and that you're reacting essentially off the tops of your head. I've read the order to show cause. It's 2 pages long. The supporting documents are considerably longer. It appears to me that you have the option as a council as to what you are going to do to affect the children of this community during the interim between now and when the issue is decided. And I would ask you to consider that, and I'm aware that you can't do that upon this instant, but I would ask you to consider that and consider the children when making that decision, and ask you similarly to give us some idea when you think you could give us an answer.
Dave, would you also ask the two aldermen that started with the same consideration?
I'm asking all of the aldermen for that consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to motion to adjourn to speak to the city attorney, please. I mean, I can't speak to this. I haven't even looked at the...
We have a motion on the floor to adjourn. It needs a second. Second. On the motion to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm opposed. There are people out here that wish to speak.
I'll talk to you.